voice that carries.
It carries,
Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Manini?
Here.
Mr. Moraro?
Here.
Mr. Cross?
Do I have somebody that...
Motion that Mr. Pop be excused.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Manini?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. There was a couple changes. We got the new agenda in front of us. Under the fluoride, instead of putting it under action, we need to get some more information on that, so that'll be under discussion. And the closed session, we will not be going into closed session tonight, so you can, and we will be going in for that our next meeting. Do I have a motion on the agenda?
I make a motion on the agenda with the new changes.
Support.
Mr. Manini?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 7th, 2024.
Motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 7th, 2024.
Support.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Manini?
Yes. Motion that we approve the meeting minutes of the closed session of February 7th, 2024.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Manini?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Approval of manifest 2024-04. Brett, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Jeff?
None, Madam Mayor.
No questions.
I have a few of them. All right. 2 of 6. Under Public Works. It says 12 months unlimited GoTrack GPS for $400. And it kind of goes with a couple of the other ones. Let's see. Yeah, in the electrical, there's one for $1,000 on 4 of 6. And then under wastewater, there's a $400 one. I realize there's a $200 one under the water fund. I realize we've been having this, and I would like to know if anybody is using these GPS trackers, and are we checking to see where people are at and everything?
Yep. I have started to use it myself, and it's this conversation that I'm just going to be having with department heads to make sure it's something that everyone wants to continue. There are some that I think don't use it. There's others that do. It is an evaluation right now. Is it worth having?
Right. And I know at one time it was very important to us, because there was a few problems, but
I do find it can be useful. I discussed it in other municipalities, and it is tough to get it going because a lot of places don't like to see that. We have it in place. It makes it easier now that you have it. We do need to utilize it more. We have been recently, but it is an expense that we looked at, and it is part of that conversation going forward on, is this something we can afford to keep doing?
right.
Actually, Madam Mayor, good catch, but we even missed a few. We're probably pushing $3,000 a year for this.
That's what it is.
There's a $600 one here. There's another $200.
Yeah, I knew there was quite a few
Yeah.
from there, but I figured you got
That's
the
about
point.
3,000.
Yeah, we definitely did.
Yeah, well, and
Make sure we
I
get
think
use
it's
out of it.
important, but I also, if nobody's looking at it, what good is it
Right.
if we're paying that kind of money for it?
It is one of those softwares that can have a big benefit, one that I'm not used to having, so I do have to continually remind myself that we have those, because I am not used to having it, but it can be useful in multiple ways.
Let's see if it's $3,000 useful.
That's going to be a tough one to quantify, but I would agree, again, it is one of those things that we are pulling apart in the budget, as we have to question everything, considering kind of where we're going here this fiscal year.
Okay. And then on 3 of 6, down under electrical transmission, I mentioned this last month because there were some on there. We got 2 garage ceiling fans, the lights for $156.97. We got more ceiling fans for $463.99. So between both months, I didn't get to look back, but that's a lot of money put into that. And I just want to make sure if we're putting that kind of money that we need that.
Right, and that's where, you know, I listen to the department heads like Scott, and when they think that if they need fans to keep that heat down, I try to trust their judgment that it's something that they need. We do
Right.
look at their budget to make sure that it is fiscally able to provide it, and we do talk about costs and where they're getting it from. And it is all kind of part of that process.
Right, and then I just kind of think, you know, that was a lot bigger project because it was split between 2 months, that it would have went over the amount that it probably should have been approved.
Yeah, that is typically something for like ceiling fans. I wouldn't typically bring that to council. It's just a basic.
Yeah. Well, you know, last month it was there, it's this month, there's a lot of money put into it, so that's just my comment on it.
Candy, if I may. Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, 3 retractable extension cords, $314.55. We never had extension cords on there before, just wondering.
Yeah, we don't.
A
The hammer
10-foot
drill.
fiberglass step ladder, we never had a step ladder on before, did the other one break? That was $280. You know?
Another
And
one was
two,
the-
and there's 2 more extension cords down below that for $135.
And the hammer drill for $176.80.
I mean, we definitely want to make sure
You
people
know,
have their stuff, but this is stuff that, I mean, we would have had, right, I would assume that we would have had over the years, right?
Right. And I mean, I will say that if the ladders ain't up to code or whatever.
Right,
they-
sure.
They do have to get, new ones, but as we all know, going into budgets, we have to start looking at where
Yeah.
we can save money, so we want the department heads to be conscious of making sure it's stuff that we need.
Sure.
And, let's see here.
But we might
Under,
have Scott answer some of those questions for us too, as
Yeah.
far as those tools and ladders and stuff go, why we were buying.
under hydro plant, 2 stainless steel quartz heat lamps for $2,597.88. Can we find out what that's for?
What page is that on?
That is on 4 of 6. Four of 6, right here.
Okay.
Okay, and then I got one for David, under the water fund, David, and I'm thinking, you got pulse, cable, gasket, bolts, hex nuts. Was that for that water break? That's what I was- That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I have one for Natalie. This one's for you, Natalie, at the end, regular payroll. There was that one in there for extra, and I was wondering what that was for, that you added to. Additional expenses, see attachment, and then it goes back regular payroll date of
Yeah.
54,000.
So usually I have the payrolls listed out on this last page of your manifest. and
Okay.
it's- Usually there's more than one payroll, but that's all that was on this manifest.
Okay.
Just the one payroll.
Okay. That's all I have. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve manifest 2024-04 in the amount of $252,463.93.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Magee?
Yes.
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer?
Yes. and I'll ask them. Do you guys, want the answers to my questions from last time, or did everybody read up on them? You want me to have Dan just touch on them?
I would like them.
Okay.
Yeah, the apartment building dumpster one seemed
Yep.
kind of lengthy. I got the gist of it, but maybe not the
Okay.
whole picture.
I'll let you.
Okay, I'll go through those. So we have one on the fire department MERS. That is part of all the MERS
I didn't think so,
was
but-
all going to general fund, and now we put them where they were supposed to go per auditor requirement. So that is one employee from fire that was
A
retired.
retired
Okay.
employee.
Yep.
And I knew I never seen that MERS come out of that.
Mhm.
That's why it jumped out at me.
Right. The apartment building, so I guess I'll start short. We lose $353 a month in the commercial dumpsters apartment building. And so in my more lengthy conversation, it's trying to change the ordinance in some way to bring an ordinance change to you guys to discuss that apartment buildings, whether they are required to have a commercial dumpster and get it on their own and not have us, because the way we do it now is they get a commercial dumpster, basically we get the bill from GFL and then we charge them per unit, which doesn't cover the cost of the dumpster. Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
So it's the question of requiring them to have that commercial dumpster and then it's on them to get a commercial dumpster however they see fit, opposed to just going with residential totes, which an apartment complex, based on our requirement of the tote only being 45 pounds and allowable of 100 gallons, you're gonna have up to 3 per unit, so you could have 100 plus individual
No.
totes out
I
there.
talked to a couple of the landlords in town.
We wanna make
and,
sure
yeah,
that
the dumpster's the way to go, but we just gotta make sure that,
yeah,
you
and
know.
I just have to get that ordinance. for you.
yeah, okay, good.
And then the meat and hunt,
See, that was a lot easier than
yeah.
trying to decipher all that.
And then the meat and hunt one, not a lot to really say. We did provide more of a breakdown of their hours and who was,
What it was used
Yes.
for. It wasn't just
correct.
for nothing, you know,
Yeah.
like saying, oh, we have.
Yep, so in there you have the original invoice, the email from them, and then a more broken down version of
Yeah.
exactly what it
Because
was.
I never seen them just bill us for.
No.
having hours.
And that was all of those, man.
Thank you.
Did you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I'll do this too. So one change as the mayor will go into public comment, I added just 2 sentences because what happens sometimes in public comment, people don't realize that they're coming up to speak and council isn't supposed to be interacting and having a conversation about what they're talking about. And if they don't know that that's what's happening, they can kind of be taken aback, or why aren't we responding to them like they expected? So I did put in there kind of that, you know, the purpose of the public comment, that council isn't supposed to respond, and if they find that more is needed, that they'll direct me to then talk to that person outside. If it needs to become an agenda item, we'll do so. So I did do that just to clarify when people come up that don't understand what's going on.
It's kind of a place where you bring things to our attention.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, and the reason you're not supposed to engage is that because it's not listed on the agenda, and you know other community members might want to be here if they knew that that was going to be discussed.
And also, we probably aren't prepared to respond.
Right.
Correct. So that's just kind of a thing to clarify as we move forward.
Thanks.
Well done.
Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. The council will not engage in discussion or debate during public comment. If the matter needs further discussion, the council may direct the city manager to place the item on future agendas. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on an agenda item only shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. The council will not engage in discussion or debate during this public comment. If the matter needs further discussion, the council may direct the city manager to place the item on a future agenda. We'll move on, and we have no action items and no presentation, so we're gonna move on to discussion items. Item number 1, Water Department, water supply fluoridization.
Okay. One, I guess, so just if you guys notice on the agenda, we do know how I broke it down in actionable discussion, just as an FYI. So this is a conversation we've had a couple times in the past about the fluoride in the city's water. When it was brought to our attention that an issue had occurred back in January of 2022 that made us not able to provide fluoride into the system. When we were notified by Eagle, they require us to either continue to add fluoride to the water or to discontinue if council so chose. So I have the same kind of basic memo as we did last time, but we have additional information on the cost to repair. Part of it is electrical, which we have a quote for $13,904. David is here to speak on. There's some additional areas that may need to be repaired in the tank. Now, the reason why we moved it from actionable to discussion is yesterday I spoke to Eagle and they wanted to make sure that we had enough public input on this regardless of the direction that council goes. So I told them that we do have a newsletter that goes out to all utility users and they would like us to place something in that stating that what happened back in 22 and that there has been fluoride since, and also put it on the website. It is on the website through the agenda, but they want to do more of a clear cut on the front. So we will put that out at the next newsletter, and once that gets time to circulate, we will bring it back for council to discuss. There is a grant possibility for up to $25,000. I feel pretty good that we would qualify for that. They sent us that this evening in an email that was to all of you that I responded to, and I also have a copy for you.
Eagle?
Yeah, well, Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
of the state. So we'll be looking at that as well. So if council, after all this, chooses to continue to add fluoride, and so we'll go fix it, we will continue to add it, all be the same. If for whatever reason the council decides to discontinue, we need to discontinue through an ordinance via the same method that it was enacted, which we are still looking at exactly how it was enacted. If it was enacted just by an act of council through an ordinance, then it can be discontinued in the same manner. If it was enacted through a public referendum, then it needs to be discontinued in a public referendum. So we're looking at how that happened if council decides to go that route. If you decide to continue, then it's just tell us you want to continue and we'll fix the problem.
Do we know when it was enacted? Or is that part of the process?
David thought in the early 90s.
1991, 92
Somewhere in there?
is why I'm thinking it was enacted.
So you're digging through
Yes.
old
Yes.
transcripts, trying to figure out the exact
And it's a moot
mechanism?
point if we decide to continue, but we want to make sure we have.
Well,
those
it'd still be good to get that
options
answer.
Right,
Yeah.
and we're looking at the options, because I talked to some public members and they're like, oh, you're just not gonna do it. No, we need the information to decide whether we wanna keep it or have it or not have it.
I
So
agree.
it's still open.
I mean-
We just need more information to
Right.
make an educated
available.
decision.
And we're gonna try to bring someone, Ms. Sutton, who sent the email, I've extended an offer to her to come speak to you guys. So,
If there's state money out there that can get us back to where we need to be, that's great.
It makes it a lot more appealing.
Then then we're guessing roughly around $5,000 for a city side to put fluoride.
And
Well,
that's-
that's an easier decision than having to throw 20 grand into, up front out of our own.
and that's
budgets as
been,
well.
when we look back, I believe it has been budgeted
Every year.
in the budget each year. So it won't be a huge change, especially again with the grant of up to 25, and we're at 13. We have another 10 to.
What's that grant process like? Is it lengthy? Is it quick?
I just got it this evening. So I just started looking through it. I provided that for you guys as well, so we'll start looking at that. And I'll talk to Ms. Sutton about that process.
Well-
And we did receive one in 2012. and up to-
Right.
Hey, for all the hard time that we can give, state and federal entities for saying you need to do this and not giving us any funding, this is something that we don't need to do, but they've pointed us in a good direction, not that we wouldn't have found it. They pointed us in a good direction for some funding available.
Yep.
So that's kudos.
And I've been in
Someone's doing their
contact-
job right.
And I've been in contact with our representative from Eagle since we received that letter in December. I'll let them know that when we have it at council meetings and kind of that progress, so they should be well aware of kind of where we are in this process. So if you guys want to discuss anything else on that or ask any questions, that's kind of what we're.
I was gonna ask David, what additional, do we think there's a problem, or?
Well, the electrical is complete, rebuild the whole building. That's what we discussed already. That's your biggest expense. The next expense is gonna be the pump, some plumbing, a new tank, and that's an upright 250-gallon storage tank, so it'd be bulk delivery. The old one had piping on the bottom, so when we pumped in, everything was on the floor area going in. This will be elevated above, coming in on the top of the tank, so it can't leak or leach out of the tank if we have a bad leak or seal. So we're updating to what the newer tanks are recommending under fluoridation, so.
And you'll get us prices on that?
Oh, yes, I have some of that generated already.
Okay.
I'm in the ballpark around $8,000 altogether with pump and things that will cover the water side of it. I still don't have the door or window thing, but that's just,
It'll be all of that 25 grand by the time we're done.
yes, we'll be in that ballpark of that.
And Natalie, they have RR&I money in water. Is it as much as sewer, or they,
No, it's about half of all.
so 50 or so? How much? So there is RR&I money in water that is put away specifically for infrastructure upgrades. So if we do happen to go over, say the 25, you know, there is money in the budget that we can have that is not about general operations. So more information to come.
Most of this work done in-house? Or
The electrical will be done by the quote, whoever we accept the quote through. The plumbing, as far as the hooking up the tank and all that, I'll be all in-house.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of timely.
Right.
And, I see you have one bid here, could you not get a bid from anybody else, that we only have one bid?
That's the ones I went with. I didn't call around, you know, they've been in the house with us a couple times, so
At least one more.
I can get you, we'll try to get you one more and we'll do that forward, so.
2 would even be better.
Probably won't be cheaper.
I think everybody's gonna see this meeting, and I would like public participation.
Yes.
Right? To
Yeah.
be able to, you know, anybody sees David or any of us, give us a yes or a no, right? And help us
Right.
understand whatever we.
Or please attend the next meeting. If
Right.
you have anything that you want the council to consider, please come in and.
Remember, this is not a mandated thing we're putting in water. This is up to the citizens to put it in.
Yeah, if you want
It
fluoride,
has
let us
nothing to
know.
do with
If you
the
don't, let us
chlorine
know.
or nothing.
Yeah, this is one of those.
This is your
things
choice.
I've been around communities that were opposed to it. I've been around communities that wanted it. That's kind of where in my memo I say, again, can be a touchy topic, and that's where my recommendation is going to be solely based on, how we pay for it, how we do it is not gonna be a recommendation on should be or should be not fluoride. That is really not my place.
Any other questions? We'll move on to mayor council comments. Brett, you have anything? Jeff?
Just ski jump weekend this weekend, if, you know, another big event for our area. You know, the weather looks like it's going to be beautiful on Saturday and Sunday. So hopefully we'll get a lot of people up there and, you know, help support a real good, event that's, you know, a multi-community event that's, you know, is good for the area.
No comments.
I just have one. I noticed when I went through through our executive memo, we were missing the electrics department's monthly report.
Oh, okay.
Can you make sure that we
Yep.
have the electric departments too with every other department?
Yeah, my apologies on that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Did you have anything else?
Not tonight, no.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion we adjourn.
Or,
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
yes.
Mr. Mankini?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.